It's Thursday, which means it's almost Friday, which means it's almost the weekend. And what better way to close out your week than another edition of Outwork You Thursdays right here on the 2-2 Podcast. Listen, I'm so glad you could join me today. We're continuing our series entitled Love Is. I don't want you to miss a moment of it. We're going to have a lot of fun. So with that being said, class is in session. Grab your friends, grab your family. Grab your notebook, grab your iPad, grab your haters. Let's have a little discussion. See you in a minute. Have you ever wanted to record a podcast but didn't know the way? Well, I've got good news. Let me tell you about something. It's called Anchor. And Anchor is the easiest way to record a podcast. Let me explain. It's absolutely free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. And it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So here's what I need you to do. Please download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started. So today we are continuing the series entitled Love Is, which is a journey through 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 7. And I've had fun. The reception from this particular series has been really, really positive. I've enjoyed doing it thus far. Thank you to those who listened to my episode on Church Hurt. And if you haven't gotten a chance to listen to Tuesday's episode, I encourage you to listen to it and pass it along, because there's somebody out here that really personally needs to understand that they can overcome church hurt. But it's going to take some time. It's going to take some acknowledgement. It's going to take some. It's going to take some patience. Because just like healing from an injury, it takes time. You can't rush it. And thank you to those who listened to last Thursday's episode, which was which was part 2 of this series, in which, as we were talking about, can't hurry love. You can't rush love. And that was the first part of the first verse of 1 Corinthians, where it says love is patient. Well, today we're taking the other part of that and talking about kindness. We're talking about kindness in love. Oftentimes, we see people do random acts of kindness for clout. You thought this was going a different way, didn't you? No. Sometimes we see people, a lot of times, and recently, in the last few years, we've seen a lot of people do random acts of kindness just to get clout, just for a photo opportunity, and I don't always encourage you taking a picture of you helping somebody that's in need. I do encourage you to do it. I do encourage you to help others and be kind to others out of love for people. Oftentimes this is floated around love God, love people. And we only get, and so we think we do. And so we think we got all of it together when we're only giving half of it. And most of the time, it's not even half, because you can't love God without loving people. And when you love somebody, you're kind to them. You're kind to them. Being benevolent, which is being benevolent and charitable and kind to people. Even those who persecute you. Even those who sometimes can't handle kindness right away. There are some people that they have had people mistreat them and have done them wrong, and that have hurt them in such a way that when you are kind to them, they either push you away. A lot of times people will push you away if they're not used to kindness. They'll push you away, or, here it is, they will assume that you're just doing it just to get something from them, or take advantage of them. You're trying to break their walls down and your mission is, I'm doing this because this is who I am. That this is my character. This is in my nature to be kind and loving to people. But the person that you're being kind to takes it as, oh, they want something from me. It's almost like, okay, maybe this isn't a great parallel. Maybe this isn't a great connection. But have you ever did something when you were a kid? Have you ever did something for your mom or dad or uncle or grandparent or aunt and somebody, or a sibling, or better yet, a friend? Have you ever did something nice for them and they assume that you wanted something? I know I have. You come in there and you get your parent a bottle of water, a glass of water. You do something for them, and they go, "What do you want? I know you want something. Don't. So what do you want? What are you asking for? Because you generally don't always do this without me asking." In some cases, that is the case. Sometimes when we were kids, we didn't want to do something right away. And then when we did it right away, a lot of times it was because we wanted something. But there's a point in our life where we do it not because we're kind to people, not because we want something. Not because we want them to do something. Not because we want to persuade them to go a different, to persuade them to, well, not for persuasive purposes. I know I've said that 3 times. The one thing 3 different ways, but we're not here to do that. We're not. Sometimes there's a point in our lives where we have to do it. We have to love and be kind to people just because. This is who I am. See, kindness and love is a character choice. It's a character choice. Is it in your character? Is it in your nature to be loving and kind? Because so very often we take advantage of both. We take kindness for weakness, and we abuse love. We take kindness for weakness, and we abuse love. And oftentimes, if you're not oblivious to the fact that you are abusing love, you'll do things thinking that you're doing the right thing, when it's doing more harm than good. You'll do things thinking you're doing the right thing, but it's doing more harm than good. And so, I want to talk about what kindness is and kindness is not. Just a little bit. I know I started talking about it just a little bit right there, but I want to talk briefly about what kindness is and what kindness is not. And so let's just recap let's just talk about what kindness is. Kindness, what kind people do, I'm sorry.
I'm kind of flipping through my notes, right? I'm flipping through notes and getting to a certain point, so bear with me. But here it is. Kind people dispose themselves to help others. Dispose themselves to help others. And, you hear about disposition a lot. And so here's the definition. Of disposition. As soon as it loads. Disposition is in a person's inherent qualities of mind and character. Remember, I just said that love can be a character. Kindness and love is a character choice. It's the temperament. It's the nature of a person. Is it in your nature to help others? Is it in your character? Is it in your DNA to help others? Is it your intensive focus to be there for others, to sacrifice for others, to give, to be charitable, to be benevolent? Or are you doing it just to do it? Because some people, like I said, just do it just to do it. It's not in their disposition. It's not their disposition. It's not who they are. I'm sure it's who they want to be, but I want to let somebody know that kindness is not a popularity contest. Somebody needs to know that. This is not a popularity contest about who can be kinder than the next person. It's not one of those situations where, oh, well, I do more than this person. We're not doing this to pad stats. Kind people dispose themselves to help others. Kind people, in long story short, it basically means this. I mean to do that. I meant to do it. It's who I am. It's what I do. And there's a point in our life that we have to get to a point. There's a point in our life where we have to say, this is who I want to be. A person that disposes themselves to others. But the other flip side of that is sometimes when you dispose yourself, they take your kindness for weakness and they take advantage of your love. And now people that you have disposed yourselves to now see you as a person that will do it because you're a kind-hearted person. They'll just, they give it to me. They've done it before. They'll do it again. They've done it before. Well, they've done this before. They'll do it again. They're so nice. Look at what they did. Every time. And they don't know how to say no. And here it is. Kind people know how to say no when they're taken advantage of. Did you know no can be a sort of no? It can be a type of kindness. Yes, it can be. Simply because not only are you, when you say no to people, not only are you being kind, that's not kindness to them. Now let's be a little bit selfish. You're being kind to yourself. You're being kind to your mind. You're being kind to your emotions. You're being kind to your health. See, kindness isn't always for others. Sometimes you have to be all the time. All of the time you have to be kind to yourself. You have to be kind to yourself all of the time, and sometimes that means telling people absolutely not. Some people will understand the no, and go, that's all right, thank you anyway. Other people will get angry, get upset. Well, such and such, tell me no. Why'd you tell me no? Some people get offended by a no. That's because they're not used to being told no. They're not used to being told no. So they will, they will slander you for telling them no. But don't allow people to take your kindness for weakness. Don't allow people to just think because you are who you are and your disposition and it's in your disposition or your character to be this way, that this is how it's just is, that you can take advantage of me and that I will do it because my disposition involves kindness. Not at all. That's not how it's going to go. That's not what's hot in the streets. Kind people dispose themselves to others, to help others. But within that disposition is that switch or that trigger that shows you that you're being taken advantage of. You have to have that switch. You have to have that trigger that goes, that kind of alerts you that you're being taken advantage of. Not everybody has that, and so a lot of times people come out and people end up being taken advantage of, and they give 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 until they have nothing left, and the person that they've given to has taken everything and has left you nothing. Show of hands. I know once again, I'm going to say, I can't see you and you can't see me. But just for surveying purposes, just show of hands. How many people have been in a situation where you've been so kind to a person and you've given and you've given and you've given some more and you've given and you've given and you've given some more and you've given some more, and all of a sudden, here it is. You've been left with nothing. Absolutely nothing. And what happens? What has happened? And I want to ask another question. I want you to ask this among your group. And if this is triggering, skip this question, or you don't have to answer it among your group. We'll answer it answer it with yourself if you're listening to this by yourself, of course. What was the end result? Did you get one after giving and giving and giving and giving, and they after they've taken everything, they leave? What was the end result? Did you become bitter or did you become better? And oftentimes we become bitter. And that's because later on after they leave and we've done everything we can for them, we've given them everything we can, we've given them our time, our talent, our treasure, and they didn't appreciate it, but they appreciated taking it. They didn't appreciate you, but they appreciated what you had. So because you had something, they took advantage of it. And now you're left with nothing. Absolutely nothing. What was the end result? We're getting deep here. What was the end result? I tell you what it was, because I've been there before. Where I've given to a person, and given to a person and given to a person and given to a person. I became a cold-hearted person because I didn't realize my kindness was being taken for weakness. I didn't realize that people only liked me for what I could give. And when I didn't have anything left, they never dealt with me again. And I became a very cold-hearted, calloused, bitter person. And there was a point in my life where I said enough is enough. And there has to be a point in your life where you say enough is enough. When will you get to that point where you turn that switch on and say enough is enough? It takes time. It takes a lot of time. But eventually we get to that point where we say enough is enough. Eventually we get to that moment in time where we say, I'm tired of this. There's got to be something better than this. I can't keep getting treated this way. I've given so much and they've taken much more. Oh man. What happens when you give much and they take more than you have given? What happens when they take so much? You've given much and they take much more than was given. And this happens in with our family's situations. It happens with our relationships. It happens with our marriages. It happens with our friendships. It happens in church. I know I talked about church hurt on Tuesday, but I want to reiterate that it happens in church. A lot of times, a lot of people are taken advantage of. They're taken advantage of, and they're not appreciated for who they are, but for what but they're only appreciated for what they do. And sometimes when your heart is so big, and your disposition really involves kindness, you'll say yes when you really want to say no. Because the heart is so big and you don't ever want to hurt anybody. You don't want to disappoint anybody. So you'll go to great lengths to make sure that you're doing something for somebody. You'll go to great and mighty lengths, not knowing that sometimes, most of the time actually, it's doing more harm than good. Love is kind, but you have to learn how to say no. Because the second half of that kind love is loving yourself enough to say no to some things. Why? Because there are so many times in our life where we get taken advantage of. So I encourage you this weekend, if you're in some tough situations where you have been scared to say no, you've been scared to say no because you're afraid to disappoint somebody, I encourage you to evaluate some of those situations in your life where your kindness may be being taken for weakness, and your kindness is being taken advantage of, and your love is being taken advantage of. I want you to evaluate those situations, and if they're doing more harm than good, learn the value of saying no. Learn the value of kindness to yourself. Learn the value of self-love. I promise you, man, I had to learn that lesson the hard way the last few years of not being taken advantage of and now not allowing myself to break down ever again. So I encourage you again this weekend, as we go into the weekend, to be kind to yourself and learn how to say no. Because love is kind. Love is a character. Kindness and love is a character choice. Hey, listen, thank you for joining the show today. Don't forget to follow the show page and my personal page. The show page is 22_podcast. That is 22_podcast on Instagram. And my personal page at AlexJ_live. That is AlexJ_live. Please don't forget the 22 podcast has merch. That's on 22apparel.threadless.com. That is 22apparel.threadless.com. See you soon.